Pilot shortage or cover-up? The truth behind IndiGo's flight chaos. Something is cracking in the skies over India. Not turbulence, not weather. Something far more unsettling. Flights are disappearing from departure boards. Passengers are marooned in terminals. Tired families sleep on cold airport floors. And flight crews, the very pilots trusted to command India's most powerful aircraft, are refusing to take off. Welcome to HyperFlight Saga, where we go beyond the headlines, inside the engines, and into the truth behind the machines that rule our skies. Subscribe and sit tight as we uncover this masterpiece together. At the center of this nationwide aviation meltdown is IndiGo, India's largest airline, the carrier that practically owns the domestic skies. For years, IndiGo has built its empire on punctuality, efficiency, and the promise that no matter what, we fly. But then suddenly they didn't. Behind the polished press statements, behind the corporate PR filters, and behind the calm reassurances whispered to the public, a different story was circulating among aviation insiders. A story almost no one wanted to say out loud. Is IndiGo really facing a genuine pilot shortage? Or is something deeper, something far more dangerous boiling beneath the surface? Tonight, we go behind the headlines, inside the cockpit, under the surface of India's largest airline, and into the chaos they hoped passengers would never discover. IndiGo is not some small regional outfit scraping by on a handful of planes. This is an aviation machine, a giant with more than 350 aircraft, dozens more arriving, and a mission to dominate the skies of India, Asia, and beyond. Their entire business model is built on relentless efficiency, fast turnarounds, tight schedules, minimal downtime, and non-stop cycling across the subcontinent. But even the most advanced aircraft in the world cannot take off without pilots, especially pilots trained on the Airbus A320neo's complex systems, advanced fly-by-wire logic, and high-efficiency power plants. IndiGo was pushing these jets hard, 7, 8, sometimes 9 flights per day. If even one pilot calls out, an entire aircraft can sit grounded. If 10 do, schedules crumble. If 50 do, the national aviation grid goes into shock. And that's exactly what happened. Passengers saw the chaos, but they didn't see what was happening behind cockpit doors. Pilots began reporting a different kind of turbulence, not outside the aircraft, but inside their bodies. Deep fatigue, emotional burnout, mental exhaustion so sharp it becomes dangerous. These pilots weren't tired, they were depleted. Many logged over 90 flight hours a month. Legal, yes, but grueling. Combine that with constant roster changes, unpredictable shifts, weather stress, demanding approaches into congested airports, and the pressure of holding hundreds of lives in your hands, and the human body begins to break. One IndiGo pilot speaking anonymously said, "We're treated like machines. Machines don't get tired. Humans do." Another pilot said, "If we report fatigue, the system punishes us." Others described a culture where saying, "I'm too tired to safely fly," could damage your career. IndiGo denied there was any problem. They insisted operations were normal, but the leaks kept coming. Stories of overworked crews, pressure to stretch hours, and rosters that barely left time for rest. Then, one day, it snapped. Dozens of pilots called in sick, at the same time, across multiple bases. Rumors suggest it wasn't sickness at all, but a silent protest, a warning shot to management, a message delivered not with words, but with empty cockpits. We've had enough. This was not a small problem. This was an uprising inside the cockpit, the part of the airline passengers never get to see, but trust with their lives. Questions began swirling. Was this truly a pilot shortage? Was Indigo blindsided? Or did they see this coming? Aviation insiders began piecing together the puzzle. Rising pilot resignations, delays in training new cadets, senior captains leaving for better pay abroad.
A widening gap between available pilots and expanding aircraft orders. And here's where the story takes a turn darker than anything passengers imagined. Some analysts believe Indigo knew this crisis was coming months in advance. They allegedly continued opening routes, adding flights, and selling tickets aggressively, even while the internal pilot pipeline was cracking. Because admitting a shortage would hit revenue. Admitting stress would scare investors. Admitting the truth would damage the brand. So the problem was kept quiet until it exploded publicly with a wave of cancellations that no PR team could hide. Indigo built a massive aviation empire, but even giants bleed. And this crisis forced Indigo to reevaluate everything. How they schedule pilots, how they train new crews, how they handle fatigue, and how transparent they are with the public. The next 12 months will decide Indigo's fate. New jets are arriving. More pilots are needed. Competitors are circling. Passengers are furious. And the world is watching. If Indigo solves its pilot crisis, it could become stronger than ever, an unstoppable force in Asian aviation. But if they fail, the cracks in the cockpit could split open into fractures across India's entire aviation system. Because at its core, this story isn't about aircraft, schedules, or corporate messaging. It's about people, specifically the men and women sitting inside the cockpit, carrying hundreds of lives in their hands, flying long hours through storms, pressure, and corporate expectations. Aviation doesn't run on engines. It doesn't run on fuel. It runs on humans. Humans who get tired. Humans who need rest. Humans who cannot be replaced by schedules, charts, or spreadsheets. So the next time your aircraft lifts off the runway and climbs into the blue sky, remember that behind every smooth takeoff and safe landing is a pilot fighting fatigue, pressure, and a system that sometimes forgets they are human. If you found this deep dive into Indigo's hidden cockpit crisis eye-opening, smash that subscribe button. And answer this in the comments. Do you believe this was a real pilot shortage or a crisis Indigo tried to hide?